Hello everyone, this is part 13 on how to make a shoot 'em up game in Scratch, and this is the final part of this entire series. In this video, I'll be making some small changes to the game, and I'll also explain how to add new features to your game in case you want to add your own planes, weapons, boss attacks, and stuff like that. By the way, if you haven't seen parts 1 through 12 yet, check them out, links are in the description below. Anyways, let's get started. So first off, I want to do a quick playthrough of the game to show off the game so far. So right now we are a player plane, and then we have to shoot down these enemy planes, and then some of them drop power-up points, which the player can use to upgrade its weapon. Okay, right now we have the triple shot weapon, and then once we get 10 more, now 8 more, then we can upgrade to the next weapon. So let's do that. Alright, 5 more. 2 more, and nice. So now we have the multi-shot upgrade, and then an enemy boss should appear in a few seconds. So let's just wait for the enemy boss. Okay, let's dodge all of these bullets. Alright. Okay, so here is the enemy boss. And now we are in the enemy boss battle. Okay, so the enemy boss shoots spikes and also lasers. So we have to dodge these. Okay, lost a life there, but we should be fine. Alright. And then once the enemy boss is destroyed, then it plays the animation, and then the game continues. Alright, cool. So that's pretty much the game we have so far, and we pretty much have a complete game here, but I'm just going to make a few changes to make the game a bit better. So I'm going to first go to my code, and I think making the player have 3 lives is a bit too difficult. So inside of my player plane sprite, I'm going to instead set the player lives to 5, and then inside of my player lives sprite, or the sprite that shows this, I want to go to costumes, and then create 2 more costumes for the 4 lives and 5 lives. So I'm going to right click duplicate the 3 lives one, and then I'm going to select over one of these planes, and then Control C, Control V, and then drag it out like this. And now this is the costume for the 4 lives. And then I'm going to right click duplicate one more time, and then copy this plane again. Oops, this one, and then I'm going to drag it over here, and then this is going to be the costume for the 5 lives. Alright, cool. So now the player should have 5 lives. Let's try it out. And as you can see, it works. Let me just try making the player go down to 0 lives. So 3 lives, and then 2 lives, and then 1 life, and then 0. Alright, cool. So now the game should be a bit easier. And let's see. Oh yeah, I also want to actually take out this wait 0.01 seconds. So I'm just going to have if player lives is less than 1, then immediately stop all. But we actually want to take that wait block out because sometimes a sprite would still spawn once the player loses the game. So yeah, that should be fine. And one more thing that I want to change is the number inside of this repeat. So I'm going to change the 10 to something like repeat 8. And this is just how many times the player plane flashes when it gets hit. So now if you try it out, then the player plane should flash a few less times when it gets hit. So the flash animation is a bit shorter, but yeah. And something else that I wanted to change was actually this $sign. Because originally I wanted the player to be able to purchase upgrades and stuff with the money, but since we don't have that, I think it would make more sense if it said points instead of the $sign. So let's go to the player live sprite, and then inside of the costumes, instead of the $sign, let's just change this to points. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, Control C, and then I'm going to change all of the $signs with points. All right. And that should be fine. And then inside of our cache sprite, or actually it should be named points now, so I'm going to rename this and then call it points. Then we should make sure to reposition the x value of this number counter, because right now, as you can see, it's over here. So we want to move it to the right a bit. So let's see. Let's try x minus 200. Okay, minus 100, 170, 160. Okay, I think 160 is fine. And then for the y position, let's make it something like 120, 119, 118. Yeah, I think 118 is fine. Or maybe 119. Okay, let's see how that looks. So, okay, it's a bit too high, so maybe something like 118. Alright, I think it looks fine. And now instead of a cache counter, we have a points counter. Alright, cool. And by the way, I'm also going to rename the cache variable to points. So right click this and then rename to points and then click OK. Alright, so now that should be fine. And I sort of also want to make some changes to the boss plane. So just to show the boss immediately, I'm going to go to the enemy boss sprite and then wait like 1 second and then broadcast the spawn boss. So if we try it, then the boss should spawn immediately like this, alright? And now we have the boss. So I think I want the boss to wait 2 seconds after it comes down before it starts its first attack. So I'm going to drag a wait 1 seconds block right after the repeat 120 and then change this to wait 2 seconds. And then I'm going to try it again. So once the boss comes down, then it should wait 2 seconds. 1, 2, and then start attacking. Alright, cool. So that's just like a small detail, but that gives the player a bit more time to sort of react. And now I also want to change the boss health because currently we're defeating the boss too quickly, and the boss doesn't even have time to show its second attack. So I think I'm going to go inside of the health bar sprite and then change the boss health to something like 600 instead of 200. And now before I try it out, I'm going to go inside of my player plane sprite and then set the weapon level to 4, just so that we can kill the boss a bit quicker. And now we can playtest. And we do start off with the max weapon level, just to test out the boss fight. So, alright, here's the boss. And as you can see, the enemy boss does lose health a bit slower. So, okay. And the boss fight is easier because we have 5 lives now. But now we should be able to see the boss's second attack phase, because before the boss got defeated too quickly. So, alright, here is the second attack phase. And the boss has around like a third of its health left, so I think that's fine. But yeah, I think 600 health for the enemy boss is pretty good. But I want to make one more change in the enemy boss spike, because I think the enemy boss shoots the spikes a bit too quickly. So inside of the part where the enemy boss spawns the bullets, I'm going to change the 0 seconds to something like wait 1.1 seconds, so the enemy boss shoots a bit slower, and that should make the boss fight a bit easier. So let's try it out. Here's the enemy boss, and then in the first phase, as you can see, the bullets are much slower now, and I think that's pretty good. So there's more like gaps between the bullets. Okay. And I think that should be fine. Alright, and one more thing. I also want the enemy boss to give the player 1,000 points once it's defeated. So inside of the health bar sprite, I want to go to variables and then change points by 1,000 once the boss health is less than 0. Alright, cool. So that should be fine. Now let's try the boss fight out again. And alright, cool. The boss is defeated, and then we gained 1,000 points. So that's pretty much all that I wanted to change, but those little changes should make the game a bit better. But now, since we're done testing, we have to make sure to reset all of our variables. So we have to set weapon level to 1 instead of 4. And then inside of the enemy boss sprite, we have to wait 60 seconds instead of 1 second to show the boss. And now everything should be back to normal. Alright, so now I want to talk about how to add your own ideas if you want to continue this game. So let's start in the player plane sprite. So in here, there's not much, but if you want to change like the player lives or how many power points the player starts with, you can just directly change those numbers right here. For example, if you want to start with 10 power points instead of 3, then if you change this to 10, then the game should show 10 right here. And let's see, oh yeah, if you ever create new types of enemy bullets or enemy planes, then you want to add a if touching block to this if statement right here, because this is where the player checks when to lose a life. But anyways, next up in the bullet sprite, this is the player bullet, by the way. If you ever want to create a new weapon for the player, then you can just follow this format. So for example, if you want to create a 5th weapon level that makes the player shoot even more bullets, then you have to go to My Blocks and then create a new block and then name this like super fast shot, and then have all of your code for that new weapon level under the new block that you created. And then you have to change this if statement into an if else, and then add your new block in the else, sort of like this. And by the way, if you create a 5th weapon, make sure in your player plane to change the max weapon level to 5. And don't leave it at 4, because your player plane won't be able to switch to that 5th weapon. So yeah, also one more thing. Once you create that 5th weapon in your player weapon sprite, you want to go to costumes and then create a new costume with that 5th weapon. And remember, this is the sprite where it shows the weapon name. So again, if you want to create a new weapon for the player, 3 things you got to do. First thing, in your bullets, create a new custom block and then drag it in here. So create a new if else for the if weapon level equals to 5. And then second thing, go to player plane, change the max weapon level to how many weapons you have. If you created a 5th weapon, then change this to 5. And if you have 6 weapons, then change this to 6. And then third thing, go to your player weapon sprite, go to costumes, and then add a new costume for your new weapon. But yeah, on to the next thing. So for the enemy planes, if you want to create a new enemy plane that also shoots, then copy this enemy plane sprite. And inside of this code right here is where it controls the shooting. So if you want the enemy plane to like shoot 3 bullets at a time instead of 1, then you can just add a repeat and then 3 around this entire thing. And if you want this new type of enemy plane to have more lives, then you can just change this variable right here. And of course, you can also change the speed and also how many points it drops, and also how often it drops a power-up. So you have a lot to change over here. And of course, this also changes how often these planes are spawned. So yeah, and now on to the next enemy plane. If you want to create a new enemy plane that does not shoot, then copy this sprite. And of course, this has all of the same stuff. If you want to change the movement, then change this. And of course, how often it spawns, then change this. So yeah, and now on to the enemy bullet. There isn't much to do here other than change the move speed. But if you want a new type of enemy plane that shoots a different bullet, you can just copy the sprite and then change the costume or whatever, and then have the new enemy plane create clone of your new enemy bullet. So yeah, now on to the player live sprite. There isn't much to change here, so on to the points number counter. Also not much to change here. Right now, the number counter only goes to 5 digits. So if you want your points to go to like a million, then you need like 7 digits. So you have to change this 5 to a 7. But yeah, next sprite, enemy explosion. There isn't much to change here, just play around with the numbers and you should be fine. Next one is the power up sprite. Okay, so also not much to change. You can like change the fall speed, but that's pretty much it. Next one is the PowerPoint display. Okay, so there also isn't much to change, but you can edit this block to change how many PowerPoints you need for the next level. So currently I multiplied the amount that I need for the next level. So it's like level 1 is 3, level 2 is 6, level 3 is 12. But you can make it like times 3 or something, or you can even make it like plus 10. So you can play around with this. But yeah. Next sprite is the player weapon sprite. This code you don't need to change other than the size or the position. Okay, so next sprite is the enemy boss. Of course, you can change this wait 60 seconds to however long you'd like until the boss shows. And then if you want, you can also change these stuffs inside of the boss attacks to, change up how the boss moves or how the boss shoots. So you can take a look at these. So yeah, next sprite is the boss spike. So in here, if you want the boss to spawn more bullets, then you can just duplicate and then have more blocks inside of here, but like change the direction or the X or the Y or stuff like that. So yeah. And now into the boss laser. In here, you can just mostly play around with the numbers. Not much. But yeah. Next one, health bar sprite. There also isn't much to change in here. But oh yeah, if you want to change the boss health, then change it in the health bar sprite. So in here. Also, if you want to change the health bar width or the health bar Y position, then change these values. And if you want to change the health bar size or the thickness, then change these two values right here. And now on to the last sprite, the boss explosion. Also, not much to change over here. But yeah, that's pretty much an overview of all of the sprites and what to change in case you want to add your own features like new planes or weapons or bullets or stuff like that. But now, since we're pretty much done, I'm going to do one last playthrough of the entire game. So let's get started. Let's see. Alright, so we have our single shot, and then we have our normal enemies, and now we have 5 lives, so the game should be a bit easier. Okay, getting a bit unlucky with these power-ups, but that should be fine. Alright, almost at triple shot. Nice. Now let's aim for the multi-shot. Okay, one more. And multi-shot, alright. And now let's just wait for the enemy boss. So as you can see, now we have a points counter instead of a cache variable or counter. So let's just wait for the boss. It should appear soon. Let's see. Okay, here's the boss. And now the boss has more health than before, but also shoots slower, so that's a good thing. Just lost a life, so that's not good. Okay, dodged that laser. Okay, so the boss has around like a fourth of its health left. And it should be entering phase 2 soon, so we should watch out. Oops, just lost another life. We have 2 more. Okay, phase 2. Now it's going to go down, alright. We also have enemy planes shooting at us, so that's not good. Oops, okay, 1 life. Luckily, we had 5 lives, so... Oh man, okay. Almost. Okay, it's coming down. Alright. Let's watch out. Okay. And alright, beat the boss. Okay, cool. And then the game should continue. Alright. And that is the entire game. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial and this entire series. If you enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe too, if you haven't already. By the way, this project is on my Scratch profile, so check it out. Link is in the description below. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in my Scratch studio. Link is also in the description below. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial. See ya!